Good afternoon and thank you for joining us. It's always a pleasure to welcome Laura Bramnick from TalkRealEstateAZ.com. TalkRealEstateAZ.com. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about real estate.
We are going to talk about real estate.
Hi Laura, good to see you.
Great to be here, Sinclair.
Laura is an attorney. You're a real estate attorney. And you are also a real estate agent. And that is just such a great combination. I know a lot of the big developers and some corporations have attorneys on staff, real estate attorneys helping with their real estate. They may also be real estate agents, but most people, they just kind of get stuck with a real estate agent. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Here you can provide legal advice to someone on the purchase of a home or a rental property or commercial or land.
Yes.
And it may not cost them anything extra for that legal advice.
Yeah, that's correct.
And that legal advice can be very important in putting together a transaction and hopefully avoiding some of the pitfalls that sometimes crop up.
Yeah, when you have a big issue come up afterwards, you wish you had done your due diligence.
A lot of people just don't do that. They don't go to an attorney.
Right.
Because they don't know that there may be landmines waiting for them.
That's correct.
Yeah. Laura is a certified instructor with the Arizona Department of Real Estate. She holds an active Arizona real estate license and license through the State Bar of Arizona, specializing in real estate. 480-624-2705 is her phone number. And you answer your own phone.
Yes, I do.
480-624-2705. Now, Laura, you were telling me before we went to air about a story of someone who is renting a tenant.
Correct.
And now they're facing foreclosure.
Yes, and there are a lot of tenants out there. Some people, have done a short seller foreclosure and they can't qualify for a mortgage. Others are in the process of maybe building a new home, and they're renting until their home gets ready. Maybe they've sold their other home and there was a gap, so they had to rent. And here you're renting temporarily, and then maybe you get a notice either on the property or from your landlord that the home is going into foreclosure.
Well,
And
that's
what
a
do you
nightmare.
do? Yeah, that's, because you've already are moving twice.
Now, you had mentioned that the situation involved someone who had sold a property and it didn't quite work out to be a simultaneous sale. They are looking to buy a new property.
Right.
But you work with simultaneous sales as well.
Yes, and they are getting more complicated, especially with the new rules and regulations that are coming through as a result of the Dodd-Frank law. And so there has to be a lot more protections and put in place, and the contract has to be a lot more specific than it has been in the past. The other thing is, it is harder to do a simultaneous close if you're building a home, because as you know,
Sure.
It's always delayed. And so
But again, this is why it's so important to use someone who is an attorney
Right.
as your real estate agent if you're trying to come off with a simultaneous buy-sell.
Right, that's right. And so what happens now? Well, when the foreclosures were at their peak, the federal government passed a law called the Protection of Tenants in Foreclosure Act.
Right, I remember.
Yes, that allowed the tenants to stay for a minimum of 90 days so that they could kind of get their bearings and make a plan about moving out.
So this guy's going to have 90 days and then he's going to have to deal with it.
Not anymore. That law has expired.
Ooh.
Yes, it expired at the end of 2014, and so tenants who are in that situation now are either going to have to negotiate time to remain in the property, either on a short-term or a long-term basis, or they're going to be evicted. And so the biggest issue is a lot of times tenants don't know the property's going to foreclosure.
Sure.
There's lots of reasons for that. I mean, the foreclosure date's supposed to be posted, but it can be taken down. And if you live in a gated community, it may be put on the outside gate, not on your particular property that you're living in.
And the notices don't actually go to the tenant, they go to the owner.
They go to the owner and the property under Arizona law.
Okay.
And the way a tenant can protect themselves is they can file a document that's recorded in the county recorder's office, but you really need to do that at the beginning of the lease. And also, you're gonna have to fight for your security deposit, especially if the house is going into foreclosure because the owner has no money. So there's a lot of issues involved. You may have to sue them to get it back.
Isn't the security deposit supposed to be held separately?
Yes, it is. It can be held by the landlord. It can be held by a broker. It can be held by a property manager. And so, yes, it's supposed to be held separately, but that doesn't mean you're going to get it back. The good news is that Arizona courts are pretty aggressive about giving judgments in a tenant's favor, and they can get 3 times the amount.
Do you think we're going to start seeing more foreclosures? Because we've gone through a period where they were just everywhere, and then it seems
Slow down.
Yeah.
We are, because a lot of mortgages, especially second mortgages, home equity lines of credit, in the short, the short name for that is a HELOC.
Sure.
And they're resetting, meaning that they've been interest only for 5 to 10 years. And now they're becoming a principal and interest loan, and usually for 10 or 20 years, not the full 30 years. So a lot of people are getting notices that their HELOCs are resetting in the next year.
And that amount.
Their payment can double or triple.
Wow.
And so a lot of people aren't going to be able to afford that, especially if they're renting out their property, because they're not going to be able to increase the rent just because their mortgage payment increased. You can only rent for what the market will bear.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of those properties are going to be going to foreclosure. That's what the predictions are.
And you work with people who are facing foreclosure or a short sale as well.
Yes. And I work with people who are doing that. I work with tenants. I work with landlords. And the most important thing is to be as proactive as possible and try to negotiate a reasonable solution, so that as a tenant you have time to get out and that you can try to negotiate return of the security deposit.
You also review lease agreements before they're signed.
Oh, definitely, yes. And most leases do say that the landlord's in breach if he doesn't pay his mortgage. So when you find that out, that's the best time to react.
Okay. A lot of things that you can do to avoid those problems that do crop up from time to time with real estate transactions. And having a realtor who is also a real estate attorney and also a consumer advocate, that is huge. Having somebody on your side helping you through a transaction or through a problem. Laura Bramnick, talkrealestateaz.com. That's the website, talkrealestateaz.com. The phone number, 480-624-2705. Give it a call, 480-624-2705. As always, great info. Thank you, Laura.
Thanks, Sinclair.